All right, we will go ahead and get started. I know the agenda is kind of short, but there's quite a bit to it. So we're gonna get started. It is recording, or it should be recording. Did y'all get a recording message? I think it should be recording. Oh yeah, it's recording. Okay. So this is the combo November December program meeting, and I am super glad you're here. WSU Extension programs and policies are consistent with federal and state laws, and we are here for everybody. If you want to learn more, go ahead and check out our extension website. Extension is for everyone. We are part of Connors, as you know, the College of Agricultural, Human, and Natural Resource Sciences. And our program, through its mission, serves the Resilient Washington Initiative. We do that by engaging university-trained volunteers to empower and sustain diverse communities. So what I just did there, is the newly developed, fully accessible, and on policy program slides that Debbie has put for us in our for volunteer use. So when you're pulling new slides, go ahead and grab those and take them and make them your own. Oh, we have more people in the waiting room.
Jennifer, are those on the website or in Teams?
They're on the website. Thanks, Sarah. All right. So today I have some announcements for you, and then we're going to get right into quality resources, which is our new training model update. So Northwest Flower and Garden Festival is right around the corner. And again, this year we are asking you to register your foundation events and your educational outreach events through this link. And I think Debbie's on. Debbie, could you please grab this link and put it into the chat for folks? We're asking you to do this because we at the festival will have a card that we'll hand out when people come to us and say, hey, what events do you have happening in my county where I live? We can hand them the card, and then it will, they can go to the site and see what's going on. For counties that have done it, there's a couple counties that are keeping it going. So this is, you'll see Kitsap, Clallam, they're entering their events on a regular basis, so they're showing up on the event calendar. So please register your events and help us help you by advertising your events at the festival. Debbie, did you find the link?
Yeah, I just found it.
Okay, great, thank you.
Welcome.
Switching to reporting really quickly, I want to remind you that because you are, most of you are administrative professionals with program oversight, you will need to report an activity insight this year. There will be training offered from Mike Gaffney, and I will be able to help you as well, and that's due at the end of January. At the very least, you'll need to add an impact report into activity insight. Pretty straightforward. We'll talk about it. I just wanted to make sure you had it on your radar, so it wasn't a surprise to you. And then our annual survey that we do every year, the Qualtrics survey, and then the impact reports, those will all be due February 28th. You'll hear more from me at the beginning of the year. All right, now I want to give a program foundation relations update. For your information, we have 30 programs in our state that represent 35 counties. So we have 4 counties that don't have a Master Gardener program. That's Skamania, Klickitat, Lincoln, and Columbia. There are 21 foundations, 3 of which are dependent foundations on the Master Gardener Foundation in Washington State. And we have 6 programs that don't have Master Gardener foundations. In August, I let you know that WSU was embarking on an important step in the long and continuing process of reconnecting volunteers to WSU and to clearing up blurred lines and confusing expectations and roles and responsibilities between WSU and the Master Gardener Foundations that support our program. At that time, I said we were working with a specific program and foundation. I did not tell you who that was today. I'm letting you know that that was the Benton Franklin County program and the Benton Franklin County Master Gardener Foundation. We had hoped that by working together on program, organizational structure and process, and foundation bylaws, operations and procedures, and the MOA to clearly define our roles and responsibilities and to clarify how we work together, that we could come to some shared agreement and understanding for a truly mutually beneficial partnership. Unfortunately, we were unable to develop that shared understanding. In mid-November, the Foundation Board informed their membership and WSU during their annual meeting that they had voted to dissolve their organization. Foundation membership will be given an opportunity to approve or reject that dissolution on December 16th. WSU perceives that the membership will approve that dissolution.
Jennifer,
Uh-huh.
a quick clarification. It says what was dissolved? The
Well,
program?
nothing's been dissolved yet. Nothing has been dissolved yet. The board voted to dissolve the Master Gardener Foundation in Benton Franklin County.
The foundation. Okay, thank you.
The foundation membership will need to vote to dissolve it or reject the dissolution. In the meantime, on December 9th, was that yesterday or day before? WSU sent via USPS formal notice of termination of the MOA between WSU and the Master Gardener Foundation of Benton Franklin County. So I'm sure that this is a surprise. I've been working on this since April. This has been one of the toughest things that I've ever had to do in my entire career. And I want you to know that WSU did everything within our power to resolve the differences that we had with the foundation. WSU truly values the partnerships that we have with foundations. Foundations allow our programs to be more flexible and nimble to meet volunteer and community needs. WSU did not want, nor did we expect, that our partnership with the Benton Franklin County Foundation would terminate. Through all of this, the program will continue in Benton Franklin County. Planning for future is at the forefront of the faculty and staff minds. They're currently working with volunteers and will take responsibility for financial management. Processes and organizational structures are being developed for volunteer input, a leadership team, and various committees with clearly defined roles and responsibilities, and decision-making authority will be created to engage in planning, goal setting, budgeting, and resource allocation. I want to be very, very clear that WSU, there's a lot of rumors going around right now, particularly in that county, and I'm not really sure what other people are hearing. But one of the big ones is that WSU's intent is to terminate MOAs with all foundations. I want to be very clear that WSU has no intention of terminating MOAs with foundations. WSU and I value the foundation partners for the reasons I said. They allow us to be more nimble, more flexible, to meet needs. But we will continue our work alongside the Master Gardener Foundation of Washington State to ensure that the partnerships are mutually beneficial. In July, when we were all together, I asked you to put, your top stressors on index cards. And one of the top ones was managing conflict between program and foundation relations. This experience with Benton and Franklin County has heightened our awareness of the need for continued and consistent program and foundation relations training. And together, the state program and the state foundation, I have to say the state foundation right now has been so incredibly supportive. They have been there for me and I have been there for them. It's been a fantastic partnership. Together, we are committed to developing and providing needed training for coordinators, volunteers, and boards. In addition, we're working with State Foundation and State Program Lead, working with WSU contracts on revising the MOA with the intent of releasing a new template that better clarifies roles and responsibilities of each party. We are also working on a chartering process whereby WSU reviews foundation articles of incorporation, bylaws, and policy and procedure manuals for specific criteria that we want to ensure is included before we decide to partner through an MOA. We are currently working on defining what that criteria will be using our Washington State, the RCWs. There are certain laws that are supposed to, that govern these things. So we want to make sure that we're following those and nonprofit best practices. Overall, our goal is to ensure foundations realize they support the WSU Extension Master Gardener Program and only the Master Gardener Program. They're raising money using the term Master Gardener with WSU Extension Master Gardener volunteer time, talent, and effort, and WSU faculty and staff resources. In addition, we want volunteers to realize that even though they're doing things like a plant sale, foundation meetings, and perceive those as foundation things, they're still doing that as a WSU Extension Master Gardener volunteer, and WSU Extension has responsibility for them. There is a letter that will go to each of you and all foundation presidents and the Master Gardener Foundation of Washington State full board this afternoon. It's signed by both me and Tana Hessert, State Foundation President. It is a high-level summary of what I just told you. A letter will also go to all volunteers at some point. It will be less detailed than what you receive from me, but it will let volunteers know about what happened. The purpose of sending such letter is to ensure all volunteers and program coordinators understand the importance of the program foundation relationship and the need for us to have a mutually beneficial partnership. Questions, thoughts, comments before we move forward? Sarah?
I have a question just because this is very timely. Our board is meeting tomorrow.
Mhm.
Do you want or not want me to include comments about this in the board meeting?
I think it's appropriate for you to do so. Joan will receive, Joan Baldwin is the King County Foundation president. She will receive notice.
Okay.
I don't want to hide it. Um, it's a fact of what happened. If you have received questions, Sarah, that you're unsure about how to answer, please refer folks to me or to Tana.
At this point, I haven't, but somebody will have something tomorrow that I can't answer, so just be expecting that.
Alice?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, oh
Yeah.
God, it just slipped my mind. Who's going to look through each individual's foundation bylaws and policies and procedures for compliance?
That's the charting process is still, being worked through. I'm not exactly sure who that will be. My guess is it will be Master Gardener program leadership. So not contracts, not legal,
Okay,
but the criteria will be defined by contracts, legal, and state foundation and program leadership.
okay, thank you.
Beverly?
So I appreciate being given this heads up. Our chapter, I don't have any issues with them. So when the president gets this letter, will it be something that they will be surprised by, or can they be taking it like this is a reminder? This is how we work together, rather than something happened and you need to know this.
Here, let me. It's more of a informational letter. I thought I had it up here, but I don't. I was going to share it. I was going to show it to you so you could see it. No, I'm not. I know I have it here, but I've got a lot of different files around this. Can you read that? Is it big enough for you to see?
Yes.
Okay.
Jennifer,
Uh-huh.
can you scroll back up? It looks like there's a typo. Stop there.
Mary, you often find these.
Sorry.
Oh, I'm glad you did. Where is it?
The first full paragraph at WSU, no, I'm sorry, of the page you were just on. Oh yeah, there at WSU, the second sentence. 3 of these are dependent chapters of the, and the rest of the sentence is missing.
Oh, it sure is. Thank you.
You're welcome.
There's also a double parentheses in the first paragraph, MG for the abbreviation of Master Gardener Foundation. Yeah.
You know how many people have looked at this?
happens to me all the time.
So where's the, oh, right here, okay. So this gives, I'll read this again before I send it, from the bottom to the top backwards and see if I can find any more typos. But this gives you an idea of what it says.
Jennifer, was the advisory team in this situation helpful?
Yes, the advisory team has been helpful. Okay, so you will receive the letter. Foundation presidents and the foundation board will also receive the letter. All volunteers in Benton Franklin are receiving a different letter this afternoon as well. I can tell you that a number of the volunteers there are feeling some relief that we're able to move forward now. The foundation board, one of them, I think only one of them, decided to retire from the program. The rest of them have re-upped for 2025. So this is going to be a new way for Benton Franklin to do business. And we'll see how it goes, but I think, a bit of an exciting time to see how we can operate differently. All right, so now I want to get into our new training model. And the official title is WSU Extension Green School. I mentioned last time we came together that we're moving to a single course model and that we're opening up our training to non-volunteer learners. Number of reasons for that are our MOA with the Academic Office of Innovation was a grandfathered MOA. They were no longer going to honor that. And our costs were going to skyrocket. We've had some difficulty in recruiting speakers in each individual county. Coordinator time constraints are, we're all stretched too thin. We wanted to be able to serve non-volunteers in some way, and we needed to generate some additional revenue for our program. So the next few slides, I'm going to walk you through what we have developed thus far. Hopefully these will answer most of your questions, and I'm sure you'll have some that I haven't thought of, that Bryce hasn't thought of, so please don't hesitate to ask them. But let me get through the slides and then we'll start asking questions. How's that? All right, so what is Green School? Gardening in Washington State has a reputation for being pretty darn easy. We are in the Evergreen State after all. When I travel, people are like, oh, you live where it's really easy to garden. I'm like, huh, right. We all know it's not that easy to garden here. And we also know that it's changing. And gardening using research-based horticulture practices to protect our environment is really important in our state. We have gorgeous geography with mountains, shrub steppe, and coastal habitats with rural, suburban, and very urban environs that make for a very diverse ecosystem. And gardening and the choices that we make in the garden, the ways in which we garden really make a difference to our water, to our air, and to the diversity of plants and animals that live around us. And each of us has a role to play, and the WSU Extension Master Gardener, WSU Extension Green School serves our purpose in ways we've never been able to before, right? So the knowledge gained by volunteers through Master Gardener program is now will be available to the general public, to people that don't have the time or the desire to volunteer. And it will also serve the green industry, folks who want continuing education hours for their own certifications, teacher clock hours. Green School will offer 2 tracks for a volunteer learner and a non-volunteer learner. So keep that kind of in mind as you're listening to the rest of the slides here. A non-volunteer track, complete online training and attend live weekly sessions or watch the recorded sessions, complete the quizzes and the final exam to earn the certificate. And that certificate can be displayed in a place of employment or listed on a resume, use in marketing. The volunteer track requires an application, a background check, signing a commitment, attendance at county-based in-person labs, completion of Green School, agreement to volunteer 40 hours in the first year to earn certification, and agree to volunteer at least 25 hours per year and earn 10 hours of CE per year to maintain certification. A few definitions here for you. You guys are kind of in my way. So online training is very similar to what we've used in the past and what we're currently using today, except that it's fully going to be fully updated. The weekly review sessions, the weekly review Q&A following online training and offered twice weekly, these are meant to replace the lectures that were in the past county-based. So you are not having to recruit speakers. These will provide an overview and offer time for Q&A. Both volunteer and non-volunteer learners can attend these. We will not take roll in these. These are not required. They're offered and they're recorded. The in-person labs are for volunteer learners only and meant to really prepare volunteers to serve. During the curriculum update backward design process that Bryce led with a number of you, we learned that volunteers don't really feel fully prepared to serve with the knowledge that they learn in our training. Meaning that they have the knowledge, right, the Hort knowledge, but are unsure about how they'll use that knowledge as an Extension Master Gardener volunteer. And the labs are intended to bridge that gap. So a volunteer learner is someone wishing to become an Extension Master Gardener volunteer. And they've completed the application process in the background check and signed that agreement. Non-volunteer learners, a person wishing to learn more about horticulture and environmental stewardship without the volunteer requirement. So where will Green School be held? Online via Moodle, which is the new LMS, the new Canvas, the new LMS, Learning Management System, and via live Zoom reviews, Q&A. And additionally, for volunteer learners, county-based in-person labs. And in front of you, you see the workload expectations. So for non-volunteer, it's about 120 hours over 20 weeks. 20 hours of direct instruction and 100 or so hours of personal study to complete online training. Reading chapters, watching videos, completing interactive activities, passing the quizzes, and passing the final. Non-volunteer learners should be expected to spend about 4 to 5 hours per week studying. The volunteer track, equal to a 5-credit course, is 240 hours over 52 weeks. We say 52 weeks because it's a full year, but we're including the internship. So it's 240 hours. The requirement is completion of Green School plus 60 hours of in-person, in-county labs, activities, and field trips. And then the 40-hour internship. That should say intern, not trainee. And they should be prepared to spend 6 to 8 hours per week. We've developed the course. Oh, Sarah, you have a question. Sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, my question is about the hours per week. Is that only during the 20 weeks of class time, or is that for the 52 weeks that, because that would be my question if I were considering signing up for it.
Yeah, so for the non-volunteer track, it's, only for the 20 weeks. For the volunteer track, it's, Bryce is going to explain it better later when he talks about the lab piece and the timing of the labs. It might not be a full 52 weeks, right? Because you will have the flexibility to hold your labs when you want to hold your labs. So it might be congruent with the course, or it might be later than the course. So that's where the flexibility comes in.
Okay.
Mary?
Yeah, I have a question about the over 52 weeks portion, allowing them the full year. Because I think, well, in my county, and I think in probably many counties these days, our recertification deadline is November 30th. And it would be awesome if it were congruent with that. Otherwise, we are stuck with having to not complete our recertification on November 30th.
Yeah, that's the flexible part of it. It doesn't have to be the calendar 52 weeks. So
Okay.
Bryce will talk about it more later. He'll get
Okay.
into it. He'll get into it later. Okay. Yep. So here's the schedule. We'll start October 5th. Or, we'll launch it in October, that first week. Students will complete through Moodle, through online training, the course introduction. There'll be a EMG track intro and a non-EMG track intro, non-volunteer, volunteer. And they'll read the preface chapter, which is a new chapter in the manual. And then attend via Zoom one of these 2 sessions. They'll be exactly the same. So it's so that learners can choose which one they want to attend. So the schedule is 3 weeks on, and during those 3 weeks, they'll be assigned 2 chapters to complete, and then attend the Q&A session. And then the 3rd week is a break so that they can catch up. Through November, and the breaks happen to be Thanksgiving, and during December, we're off for 2 weeks for the holiday break. And then in January, you'll notice that there's East and West sessions. So if somebody's from the East side, they'll want to attend the evening session or the morning session, depending. Go ahead, Aaron.
Yeah, are we supposed to implement this coming like when we start training new master gardeners in January, or is this
Nope, this is October.
okay? That's what the calendar, yeah, that you're showing me there. So okay,
October of
so
2025.
next, okay. So I have new master gardeners right now, or we're interviewing some next week,
Yep.
prospective master gardeners. So their training right now is going to be the same as what we've done in years past.
Yep,
Okay.
it's still all Canvas. It's still, yep, exactly.
Okay, good. Okay.
Did
So
you panic?
This is for the fall of 2025.
Correct.
Okay,
Yes, I was panicked for a second there. I was like, oh shoot, this is
that is, okay. Keep going.
Okay. All right. So November, December, January, and then February is the last month. And that middle week is there are optional modules, optional chapters. Backyard forest stewardship, houseplants, and greenhouse design and management are optional, and there will be no reviews for those. And then the final exam is opens on the 15th and is due at the end of the month. Here's a draft timeline that we've been working through. Hope to have the website launched on January 31st. And that's because we want to start publicizing at the Northwest Flower and Garden Festival, which is February 19. So the website might not be fully complete, but we'll have enough there so we can advertise. I'm asking you now to start communicating with your volunteers about this so that they're not caught off guard, particularly your training teams, if you haven't already started doing that. Developing some publicity materials. We need to define and communicate volunteer application process, which I'm going to ask you about that at the end of this. Continue refining the website. Launch volunteer application process in March 31st. We're still working on completing the updated textbook. Publicize on socials, websites, WSU Insider. So Connors Communications is already on board for helping us advertise. They're going to be doing some interviews and writing some stories for us. August, or in July, the volunteer application window opens. Review applications for acceptance. Accepted volunteers complete background checks. September, Green School registration opens to both volunteer track and non-volunteer track learners. And October 1, we launch the course. Here are the fees. WSU employees get a 50% discount. Current Extension Master Gardeners also get a decent break if they want to take the course for CE. And I have some FAQs I thought I'd walk through with you. Is it likely that I'll be able to host my normal fall training in 2025? No, the MOA is expiring with Academic Office of Innovation, and we are not renewing it. It's too expensive. Will we stay with Canvas as our learning management system? Nope. Our access to Canvas is through AOI, Academic Office of Innovation, which we will no longer partner with. What LMS will we use? Moodle, and it's through the Extension Foundation. And I think Bryce is going to show you kind of a little bit about how that looks. Is the course synchronous, asynchronous, or a combination of both? Boy, this is an interesting question to try to answer. So it's both to an extent. The online training will be available to learners just like our current online training. Learners will be able to access and complete it on their own time. However, the course schedule that I showed you requires that certain modules are completed during certain weeks. The 2 weekly reviews offered via Zoom on Wednesday nights and Thursday mornings, they're optional but highly encouraged. They will be recorded and available in Moodle in the module. In-person and county-based labs are required for volunteer track learners, not available to non-volunteer learners. Labs are offered on a separate county schedule and organized by the county coordinator and training teams using prescribed lesson plans. How many Green School offerings per year? 1. Will county coordinators have responsibility for non-volunteer track learners? No. How much revenue will Green School generate? If our predictions are accurate, about $295,000 for our program. Expenses will run about $57,000 a year. And these include WSU service fees, Extension Foundation service fees. Those are the Moodle fees, software needs, and publicity costs. The revenue will be distributed, which is about 200 net revenue is about 238,000, and will be split 50-50 between state program and county programs. So at a rate of about $154 per student. So let's just say your county has 50 volunteer learners and 50 non-volunteer learners. You'll receive about $15,000 into your workshop account. Do I need to arrange for lectures in my own county? Nope. These are now a part of online training in Moodle, offered via Zoom. Is there a provision to defend against non-volunteer learners claiming they want to volunteer only to pay the reduced rate? Yes. Volunteer learners will be given an agreement to sign indicating that they will serve the hours to earn certification or pay back the difference at a rate to be determined. I still need to work that out based on number of hours owed. Our state counterparts that have done this in other institutions say that this happens very, very rarely, that they actually see people who start as non-volunteer learners want to become volunteers. And how do I apply to the volunteer learner track? So that's my question to you. I've had a couple of conversations with coordinators, and I want some of your feedback on this. Let's see, and I think what I'm going to do. So in a minute, Bryce is going to give you some tips for planning for labs to align or not to align. That is the question, and he'll talk about that. And the good news is you can be flexible. So I'm going to stop sharing. And I want to talk about the application for Green School to a volunteer track Green School. So in Colorado, where they do this, the applications go through the county office. The state website would say, go to your county, and if they're accepting volunteers at this time, there will be a volunteer application for you. The county coordinator, manages that process, does the interview, make sure that they understand the pest management recommendation agreement, make sure they understand the background check. They do all of that work just like you would. And then they register for Green School when registration opens. They would register in a course that's specific to Pierce County, specific to Whatcom, specific to Spokane. You would all have separate sections. The non-volunteer learners will be in a separate section, so you won't even see them. So I'm curious how, I had another coordinator say, it seems like managing the application process at the state level would work better. I don't know how I would manage it at the state level. There's too many. So what are your thoughts? And I wouldn't know who to choose. I wouldn't know how to, I don't know what you need in your counties.
I think our county would want to choose on its own because we have multiple clinics and
Yeah.
one of our criteria is whether people are able to work the clinics that we're asking for.
And it still allows you to have your own application within the approved application. Okay, thanks, Sarah. Tim?
Yeah, I just basically the same thing as Sarah. I think that we would want to, our interview process and everything is just sort of set up to orient potential volunteers to our program as it exists in Spokane. So, and I think it would be hard for a state level committee to do that. So, yeah, I guess ditto, is what I meant
Okay.
to say.
Tessa, yeah, I agree with that.
Jennifer, I've been advertising all summer and fall for our next year's classes. I've
Uh-huh.
been too organized. But you know, here is, you know, what I've been handing out. And so, you know, I have a contact list of people who have contacted me, and I can recreate something else to
Mhm.
try to match, but at least it's in the general time frame.
It does kind of match up, and I was trying to match it up. Like, Bridget reached out to me, Erica reached out to me for the fall trainings, right? So I was trying as best I could to match it up with what kind of happens already in the fall courses. But keeping in mind, like, we have a lot of work to do, like, on this state.
Right.
Yeah, yeah. So, okay, Erica.
I'm struggling with this synchronous concept. I'm also struggling with the idea if there's 120 hours of training when normally we do 60. And I'm also wondering, it sounds like 20 weeks is the shortest that training could be, but it could be as long as 52. So I'm kind of interested in being short and sweet. So we normally do 12 weeks. 20 is the shortest that we can get away with having the training concluded.
Yes. But it's not full 20 because there's 5 weeks off.
So it's actually like 25 weeks.
No, it's a full 20, so it's actually like 15 weeks. Right, Bryce?
15 classes over 20 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
And when you say assignments will be done at a certain time, so will there be like a deadline for assignments? So if you don't take a quiz by a certain time, then you get a 0 or something like that? I mean,
I don't expect us to be that prescriptive about it. I see it as similar to how we operate now, right? So the quizzes and stuff, we ask them to complete them before they come to the review session. But if they don't, they're not, that's okay.
but they would need to be done within 20 weeks.
By the end of February. Mm-hmm.
So what part of it is synchronous in terms of not just watching everything that was recorded? What part of it do they need to actually be present at a certain time for?
Well, for the volunteer learners, what you do.
Okay, so the labs.
Yep.
Got it. Okay, thank you.
Jennifer,
I want to, Bryce, did I answer all of that correctly?
Yeah, I think so. And I'll talk about it too,
Okay.
maybe from a little bit different angle.
Okay. All right. Bridget, yeah, I saw your hand up.
This just occurred to me, so I may not phrase this correctly, but are we opening ourselves up to anything tricky by denying someone the opportunity to become a volunteer? I haven't had that often, but is there some concern there? Should there be some standardization if we say, no, I'm sorry, your hours or availability doesn't fit our program, so you have to take the class that's twice as much? is there anything we should be thinking about? It just popped in my head, so not
Yeah,
really
I mean,
fully
that's
thought
something I
that.
can definitely run by, but I run by Janet and others, but volunteering is a privilege and nobody's guaranteed that privilege. And as long as we have equitable processes for how we review, and the DEI team is working right now on a metric for, what's the word? What am I trying to think of? For reviewing the Master Gardener applications. So the questions will be scored and every county will use the same kind of scoring mechanism. Sarah,
Okay.
Sarah's part of that team. Sarah, do you have a comment? And then Patty, I'll come back to you.
No, it was an unrelated question. So if you
Okay.
want to, I could ask it afterwards.
Okay. So Bridget, did that answer your question?
I think so. It just popped in my head when Sarah
Yeah.
said, well, we need them to work at certain shifts, and if they can't work those shifts, it made
Yeah.
me just kind
Uh-huh.
of wonder that. But no, that's good enough. Thanks.
Yeah, I mean, King County turns away 200 plus people a year. So, okay, Patty?
How many in-person labs are recommended?
I'm gonna let Bryce cover that.
Okay.
Okay, and Sarah, come back to you and then we'll turn over to Bryce.
It was related to that 60 hours of labs is going to be really challenging for us to find a space that we can use for the class we have. So I guess my question is, if we had to rent space in order to do those 60 hours, is that how is budgeting managed for costs that a county might incur?
Yeah, that would have to come out of the revenue that's being generated. So let's let Bryce do his thing and then we can talk about that. Go ahead, Bryce.
Okay, hi. So a few things. I'm going to share a document in the chat here. Hopefully you can access that. I'm sure you'll let me know if it doesn't work for you. But this is like the theoretical underpinnings for how the educational theory that supports having like the lecture time not exactly line up with the lab time if that's what happens in your county. And I wanted to talk about that some because I think it's important to do things intentionally and to have a rationale for why we're doing them and to have be able to understand ourselves how it works and then be able to explain it to other people who have questions. So in this document, it's just like a page or two, but basically I just talk about how, just like with the old model, all of the theoretical underpinnings for our program that we're teaching people are contained in the online training. So they're all there, everything's written out, and I'll show you an example of how it's going to look now. Okay, the link isn't opening. And that will remain the case, that the theoretical stuff will be in the online training, and it will still be the case that those people that are intending to become master gardeners will get all of their practical experience through you and through in their county, place-based, with the people that they'll be working with. So those things remain the same. So in some ways, the biggest thing that's changing is that online training, you're not going to, let's say, I don't think I can change the sharing preferences while I'm talking about it, but we'll change it in a minute. That's on a set schedule. So that only happens once a year. And I've been trying to imagine like a way to explain this, but theoretically, what we're doing is more of a flipped classroom model, that we're really asking people to study the material, to go through all the videos that we post and the chapters and all of that material, and then come for a live lecture or watch the lecture Q&A session, review session, or watch it later if it doesn't fit their schedule, to check in with it. And then later, probably later, unless you train in the fall, then they'll meet with you and then they'll do the practical things that relate to that content. And Some of the conceptual things that support that are a concept called spaced repetition. So often when we're learning something, we can learn small parts of it, and then move on to a new topic. And then the next time we meet, we might cover another small part of the thing that we learned before, and then move on with other topics. This is I'm in a choir, and this is how it happens in choir. It feels weird at the beginning. It's like you show up and it's like, okay, we're going to sing these 10 songs in 10 weeks from now. But if the practice is, the conductor's like, okay, I want you to turn to this page of this song, and I want you to sing this part. We're going to work on that. And then it goes to a different page of a different song. Okay, just sing this part. And it's hard to understand or hard to believe, but in the end, it all comes together. Like by the end, we know all the songs and we can perform them. So I'm thinking of it in kind of the same way. For the Master Gardener trainees, they'll be learning this chapter and then they'll be learning this chapter, but they might not have the time with you in person in your county for like months after that. But because the things keep coming up and they're interlocked with each other, sort of interleaved, it's called, they're all going to fit together, and you're going to help bring them together when they're in person. The other thing I wanted to say about it, just before I show you this, is like I wanted to like have a model for like this is how it will work, but I think it's even better to have it be very flexible. Like however you train in your county, the only difference in some ways, it might be for you that the only difference is that now when you're inviting people to come be the expert, I sat in a Christmas party next to Caitlin yesterday, and we were talking about her county a little bit. Like the only difference is that you'll be inviting people to do something with your trainings. So like instead of inviting someone to talk about something for an hour and show a PowerPoint, you'll be inviting people to do something. So you'll be inviting people who can show or demonstrate or take your trainees on a field trip. And for some of you, that's what you do anyway. And in some counties, it's more based on like lectures. Anyway, I just wanted to say that the online training will be at a set time now. No penalties for doing assignments late or anything like that, but that will be at a set time. People have to finish it by the end, so it's all on that schedule. But your training in your county can be when you need it to be. So you could try to match the online training if you wanted to. It'd be pretty hard to do for a lot of people, to talk about soils in January or something when they're all frozen. You could do that. Or you could have your training in the spring if you normally have it. Like you can do those things, and we'll have it set up in Moodle so that you'll have your own section that has your trainees in it. So they're going through the online course, but you have your section and you can send them, you could set deadlines for reminders like, okay, we're going to talk about soils in May. And so in April, I want everybody in my county to re-look at those materials that you covered in the online training. So it'll be ready. It'll be sort of refreshed. And I'll fix that document and send out a link that works. I just didn't set the sharing properly on it. Yay. I started working in Moodle a little bit. Obviously it looks different up in the corner. The way that it's laid out is differently. I tried to lay it out. I don't like the look of these tiles right now, but I tried to lay it out so that it would be more tile based, that people could like select the chapter that they're going to work on. Are you seeing my Moodle?
Yep.
Okay. And then an individual chapter, when they click on it, it will pop up a little window here, and they'll have some activities to work through, and I'll show you that. Oh, do I need to stop right at 2, Jennifer? Because
No, you're all right. People, if you need to, I know Erica had another meeting right at 2. If you need to head out, this is being recorded so you can come back and watch the rest of it.
Okay.
So, but if you want to stay, please stay.
okay. So the main things is they'll have some activities to work through, just like the online training now, but updated. They'll have a review session that they can attend, either a morning edition or an evening edition of it, or a recorded version of it. And then they'll have the quiz to take. using the pollinators example because this was kind of the first one that was finished. So when they click on it, when they want to learn about a particular chapter, they'll be presented with the title of that chapter, a little summary of what it's about. Then they can go to learning outcomes for that chapter. And then they can read it. As it is right now, this is not the correct chapter because we don't have the pollinators chapter finished yet, but it'll appear in a window like this. And they can just read through it. They can zoom in if they need to. They could see it in a different window. They could download it, anything that they want to do. And then there's the video. So for each chapter, we're putting together a PowerPoint summary overview of that chapter. And so they can just click right there in context and watch that. I also like this. There's a picture-in-picture thing that they could do, so they could have it. They could be listening to the video of it while they're reading the chapter. If people can do that. So that's the chapter. And then I'm designing for each chapter a set of activities that address the quiz questions that they'll have to answer. So that as somebody's working through this, they've read, they've listened, that sort of a thing, but the actual activities they do are specifically to prepare them to answer the quiz questions for that chapter. So like this one, has some areas that they can click on and find out more information about these different parts, the flower. Some little accordions here for different types of pollination. This one goes side to side, so it has different steps in a pollination process, showing a squash flower and the bee that's taking care of that. And then a little question at the end that again would be something that would prepare them to answer a final quiz question. But this is not for credit, like this doesn't count for anything. It's just they can click, they can choose something, click submit, and be told if they're incorrect and what they got wrong about it, some feedback there. And then just going through more of the topics. So trying to cover the topics from the chapter that are specifically addressed in the quiz. This is a video, so for each chapter, we're trying to get about 10 minutes worth of video together that people can watch. Those videos will just be right in line, they won't be like a separate thing you have to click on or something, but they'll just be right in line with the activities. I'm going to pitch that now. Some flashcards, some tabs. In this example, I tried to put a bunch of different types of things, a bunch of different types of activities. Another little quiz questions they can try out. Oh, I got it right. Just without even looking. Which is a problem with multiple choice questions. Okay, so this is another thing, threats to pollinators. This is a big part of the chapter, and the quiz questions address this. So again, there's some little things that they can, some cards they can click through that have some steps on them. A little activity where you have to categorize things. You categorize a whole stack of cards. Let's see what else. This one is interesting. It's like a choose your own adventure type of thing. So there's a scenario, and then you have to choose an answer, and then you get a response. And then you can choose an answer again and get a response again. Some more cards. A matching exercise. I actually didn't finish this one, but this is where you drag and drop things to match with each other, and then you can submit that and check how you did, and then a little conclusion at the end. So we'll have one of these for each chapter that contains all the chapter materials plus knowledge checks built in, plus the videos, sort of all inclusive. So like all the learning material for a chapter is in here, and then separately is the review sessions where they meet with people. Okay, what did I forget to talk about, Jennifer?
I think you and I need to spend some time discussing the lab piece and really nailing that down and what is expected in those labs. That's what
Right.
I heard coordinators asking about and how that works. So do you have any thoughts on that right now, or do you want to put that
Things,
up?
yeah. Yeah, so this is a really important part. What those labs will be, what the in-person time will be in your county. And I'm pulling together my curriculum team. We haven't met for several months, but we'll be back together. That's several of you as coordinators, and we'll be trying to hash out like exactly what should be required when people get together in person. Like, are there certain things that aren't negotiable? Like, everybody should do a soils lab. We can't just skip soils lab and still call it a master gardener training. What the nature of those will be, like how long they'll be, how involved they'll be. I think we already know that there will be extra ones available in case you want to do extra things. I've had already people get in touch with me and say, like, I have a whole set of things that I like to do, plus I like to come up with new ideas. So we have to decide, like, how prescribed will it be? Like, you have to do these steps, or will it be like you have to have something on this topic that includes time touching the actual soil, or, something like that. But we do need to figure that out. And I thought that was a great question about the 60 hours. That's just something that is kind of already in there. Like, the 120 hours for the online training, most of that is personal study. So that's not like 120 hours of being present for lectures or something like that. But the in-person training part of it that we're calling for short labs, that's what we still need to figure out. Like, how much time and what will those things be and what will the topics be, so that any master gardener who graduates in the state, we can know that they've had practical experience with certain things.
Bryce, I have a question. Can I ask a quick question? So can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. This is wonderful. It's a lot of work and it looks amazing. Does this then, just for clarification, there still will be the evening Zoom lecture that will be live, right? This is just the curriculum online that's self-paced, but then I'm seeing Jennifer nod her head. There's going to be a live or recorded video of an expert talking about each module or chapter. So that's correct?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. And then I just had a quick thing to say about kind of the lab piece. Super valuable. And obviously for master gardeners that are a lot of adult learners like to gather and they like to get to know each other and build cohesiveness in person. And then for, I think most of us, it's a chance to network. When you bring in the conservation district to talk about natives as an example, they're also sharing about their programs, and there's a lot of dots that are connected for people that are looking for a new career path, or just so building that local connection. So labs, to me, it's going to be labs / study groups / networking and everything else.
Yeah, we can include those sort of in the description of it. Study group, networking, those are all really important things. I guess as long as it's not 3 hours of watching PowerPoints of stuff that you already read and so online.
Yeah, agreed. Just a lot of hands-on to support it.
That networking.
Any other questions for Bryce? Thank you. And the module, it's the pollinators, really cool stuff in there that I think will engage the learner better than our current online training does. Lots of different activities they can do that just right there in front of them. They're not having to click around in different places and figure it out. Should work much more smoothly. Any other thoughts, questions?
So Jennifer, you'd mentioned you want us to start communicating this with our volunteers.
Uh-huh.
I think would it be helpful, because I would hate to get something wrong out of the gate. I think some talking points. I think you have the information there. I'm not asking you to create something new. I think it's a matter of you or Bryce piecing it together to kind of explain, maybe in bullet points, what's happening and why.
Yep. I thought of that as I was going through it. the fee slide again. Yeah, so the website's partially launched. Bryce, can I share so I can share the fee slide? Oops. There you go. Caitlin, I see your hand up.
Yes, I'm curious for anyone who currently does fall training, if you have the internship hours wrap up before your next class starts, or if there's any overlap. So I'm just curious with the new, if we're starting in October, if all our requirements would be wrapping up in September, or if there would be, does that make sense?
Yeah, so Mary was kind of asking about the hours too, or I think it was Mary at the beginning of the meeting. And it's never something I really remember to think about. And I know volunteers kind of get wrapped around the axle on even the November 30th deadline. Like, well, yeah, but you should be pretty much done by then anyway. And if you're not done by then, it's okay. You know, you will be done by then. I mean, it's not a hard and fast sort of, hard line cutoff. So I have never trained in the fall. I don't know. Erica's not on. Bridget, are you still on? Do you train
Yes,
in the
I'm,
fall,
I'm
right?
here.
Do you understand her question?
Yeah, I understand your question. I do a little bit different, Caitlin. That's the problem, right? So in our county, because we offer every other year, every 18 months is how we've offered trainee, I ask for 80 hours of volunteer time with at least 25 in the first year. And that just gives those interns the buffer. Then after that, they fall in line with the normal 25 hours a year plus 10 CE. So that's just giving me a lot of flexibility. And then by the end of their second year, I expect them to have hit their 80 hours. So I will be renewing this, but I'm kind of in the same camp with Jennifer. If I'm going to require 40 hours by the end of the year, then I expect people should be finished up with their hours by then. It will take, I'm not very helpful. Sorry, Jennifer. It doesn't fit with the way I do it.
Yeah, I think if I, thinking back to when I was in the county, if this was, in Chelan Douglas, and we started training in October, the state started training in October, I would probably start training in January, just like I always had. Start the labs in January, the in-person things, and then, they could start their volunteer time in January and have until the end of the year.
Yeah.
But the fall thing is, like if you want to start in the fall in October and just follow along with us, then I would just say still the end of the year, it would be the end of 2026 then for their hours.
That's similar to how I've done it when I've had people bump up against. I also have training that sometimes ends in May. Like mine has never synced up exactly with hours, so I'm pretty flexible with that first year, and then the second year I become more, we need to make sure we've hit the milestones.
Right.
Okay, that's helpful.
Okay.
I have a question about the timing. So if it's a fall start and with the online portion, do coordinators need to be present to help troubleshoot our local participants with accessing Zoom and all that, or is that something that's managed at the state level? Do we know that yet?
Well, my intent is to have similar to Home Hort, what we did for Home Hort, have like a tech team and a Q&A team to manage all of that.
Okay.
But then at the local level, yeah, the coordinator I think would be responsible for supporting their people through the course for the, you know, the people who are going to become volunteers. But the tech piece, I think, will be covered through the state. It's just like the, have you done your quiz? Are you getting far behind? Do you, yeah, that kind of thing.
Hey Jennifer, this is Corey.
Hi, Corey.
Hi, I appreciate this. I also I know you can't change anything, but I'm just voicing my concern about the fact of how this is going to affect some of us that have multiple programs and how that changes things. So I know you're stuck in one position, but we're also being put in the same position as well. And this really screws up a whole bunch of our fall MRC stuff right now. And I don't even know the concept of even trying to process applications during the same time or all of that is going to be a huge challenge. So I know there's nothing you can do about it, but I'm just saying, letting you know that stuff is happening and more stuff's going to be hitting the fan here.
I knew that. That's, you know, last month when, or was it last October? You know, I was like, I haven't heard from Corey. I haven't heard from Corey. When am I going to hear from Corey?
Yeah. Well, I knew at the meeting that it's just the fact that you're starting in October, which is not like literally everything that that changes everything. The other thing too is we're on a biannual budget, which I already put in numbers for that. This is the financial piece now that's going to screw that up too, you know? And so they're expecting a certain amount of money coming in for the expectation. And now that's also going to change too. So let alone on top of everything else. So, I mean, I'm not going to react more than what I am right now because literally, you know, I watched the recording last month. I wasn't able to come to the meeting and I watched it and I've been processing. But that being said, still, when you still are hearing it, just know that the shit show's coming.
Yeah.
That's all I'll say, you know,
Yeah,
on that part.
I
And
can't.
in the end, it will be good. But I
Yeah.
think this whole transition period is really going to be
Yeah.
challenging for some of us.
Yeah, oh, absolutely. I know. Yeah. And we were trying to find the place that was, you know, kind of in the middle for everybody.
Well, I agree with you, Corey. It does kind of throw a wrench in plans that are already laid. However, it makes total sense if you're going to have new curriculum, that is the time to make these changes. So to have them all come at the same time it seems more organized and more positive.
Thank you, Patty. I know this is hard. Change is hard. Change is really hard. We've been doing it for a really long time. And I remember when I was in the county and then we switched to online training, I was like, well, that doesn't make any sense. Why are we doing that? You know, and then it worked out to be fine. But it was a transition and it was it was different. And so we're doing it again and I'm trying, you know, doing my best to give you all the information that you need as soon as I have it available. And Bryce and I and Debbie Benbow, you know, all three of us working diligently to get the information to you in a timely manner.
No,
If you have questions that I did not answer today, I know the lab piece is a concern and Bryce and I will work on that. But other questions that we didn't answer or you want more clarification on, please reach out.
I have a question in the chat about the scholarship piece. And I was just curious if counties were contributing financially to scholarships and who decides who qualifies for a scholarship.
Yeah, that'll still need to be worked out too. And it's less of a scholarship and more of a fee waiver. And so that's still policy that we're working through. I don't expect the counties to come up with $125 to cover the difference. It's more of the student paying the 125 rather than the 275. Patty, we're going to. Absolutely. Bryce is working on those things. In terms of West Side, East Side labs. Yep. Okay. Please don't hesitate to reach out. You know, if you've read the chat, we have coordinators who barely have enough time to get their jobs done, very limited resources, and then we have others who have more time and you know, extra people to help them, paid people to help them with, you know, 200, 300, 600 volunteers. And so it's really hard to find middle ground. And we're doing the best that we can to serve the needs of each of you as best that we can.
Jennifer, could you answer Angelin's question about the scholarships, or did I miss that in my?
Oh, I said we're still working through policy on that. I'm not exactly sure what that's going to look like yet. But I expect it to be more of a fee waiver, that not asking the county to come up with the difference. Not necessarily a scholarship. Does that make sense?
Yep.
Okay.
Yakima just approved, gosh, I think eight scholarships for the coming fall. Partial scholarships, I should say, because we were going to charge 200, and then the applicant would be responsible for having paid the $85 for the online course.
Mm-hmm.
That's the way we had formatted it. Yeah. But we'll reformat it.
Anything else? Thanks, Lauren. All right, so our next meeting is January 22nd, 2025. Hopefully I'll have lots more to share with you then. Happy holidays to all of you, and we'll see you in January, if not before. Bye.